What is going on, All Terrain Nation? I definitely, you guys in the comments, man. You guys know what's up. I want to say what happened today in Texas is pretty horrible, and I'm a gun advocate. But when that stuff happens, it's pretty disgusting, man. And whether it's mental illness or whatever's going on, it's pretty disturbing. I've got a young kid. We had to pull my daughter out of school yesterday because there was a threat of some violence like that at her school. So it kind of hits home a little close tonight. And so for that, I want to say, it's terrible. And that's really about all I know to say about that, man. That's anything we say tonight is not going to comfort those families that lost their children and stuff. So past that, let's kind of have a moment of silence here for that, and then we'll get on with the show. Let's do this. Here we go. We'll do this. Whether it be two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, it doesn't matter what you drive. This is your All-Terrain Nation, and I'm your host, David Boyd. And yeah, guys, terrible news come out of Texas today. Obviously, this is an auto show, but just terrible news. And so we'll move on, and hopefully the families, can deal with all that going on. But this is the happy hour, and we'll try to bring a little happy hour here to you guys because we brought the big names in tonight. That's right. We brought Bronco Wild Outdoors in, and Dwayne, I know over there is itching to talk some Bronco because some big news. A lot of big Bronco news coming out this past day or so. But and then we got Mr. Overlanding for Fun. Bronco Santa himself is in the house. What is up, guys?
Mm-hmm.
How are you?
Well, not bad. Not bad. The world's a little crazy place right now, but it is what it is. Sadly, I had nothing to do with any of it, but it doesn't mean you can't be sad for the families,
Absolutely. Yeah. Horrible news. I don't watch the news typically, and I did catch a hint of it today, and my heart goes out to everyone affected.
Yeah, definitely. And I know, Tim, you didn't know about it till right before we went to.
I was looking at the comments in the chat there, and that was the first I'd heard about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we'll get past that, and we'll have some, I guess, some fun tonight. So this is the happy hour. Anything goes here as far as auto news, anything we want to talk about. This is not the normal Bronco show. So if you're expecting the normal Bronco show, this is not that. But if we brought Bronco Wild Outdoors in the house, there's probably some Bronco something going on, and we'll talk about that. We've got some Mercedes. Is it Mercedes, I believe, Tim, that we wanted to talk about a little bit?
Yeah, it seems like there's trouble in Germany.
That's right. There's got some news, and we've there's a little bit of EV news. Me and Tim were discussing today privately. There was some strange figures popping out in the EV world. But first off, guys, hopefully you're doing well. Let's get right into the Bronco news because, well, it is pretty interesting. I said yesterday, I was like, when is Ford? I think I said it in the live stream with my buddy Tim Esterthal. I was like, when is Ford going to drop this horsepower? Because they're ready to ship some of these Broncos, these Raptors. And it's strange to me that people were ordering a Raptor that they had zero idea of how much, like it could have been, they could have went, well, this Raptor is 280 horsepower. And you'd been like, okay, maybe, I don't know, man. But so Dwayne, you dropped a video today on that, man, or a little bit ago. What is going on with the Raptor and the horsepower?
All right, 418 on the horsepower and 440 on the torque. So
well, that was Dwayne with Bronco Wild Outdoors, and thank you for joining, Dwayne.
Hey, I'm here. Right into you. You asked for the content. I'm here. Hello, I'm Dwayne with Bronco Wild Outdoors. You can see the little banner.
That's right. But so I know you were slightly disappointed with this news. I'd said I'd had people not in Ford's motor department talk to me about it, but I've had some people at Ford be like, yeah, 420s. is where we heard 426, I think is what I was kind of told. Not ridiculously out of line what I was told versus what actually got produced. Where are you at with that, man? What's going on?
It's my fault, but I had it in my head. It was going to be around 450. The
Mhm.
Bronco Raptor, we were talking before the show's 150 or 450 horsepower for the Bronco, or excuse me, for the F-150 Raptor.
Right.
And I think the idea was they weren't going to beat that, right? Or they weren't going to trump that or go over that. So I was thinking 445. Well, 418. So when you're thinking 450 or 445, 418 initially was the disappointment, but overall it's a win.
And what was the torque figures again?
It's 440.
440. That, I mean, that's not like crazy, but I'll be honest, the 400 mark I know was kind of their benchmark for that, but I think it's a little weak considering the 2.7, which is the 3.0 is they're almost identical motors, really. Like, that's not a big increase because Ford Performance has a tune coming for the 2.7, which I'm going to anticipate is probably going to hit 350, 360. And can you tell, what, roughly 45 horsepower difference? Probably, but it's not enough to pay for me $75,000.
Well, I think with the Bronco Raptor, though, you get everything,
Sure.
right? You get the suspension, you get the jump bumpers. Sorry, man, we go live, and I have like coughing there. So we, the total Raptor, the Bronco Raptor experience, right?
Mhm.
And at 418 on the horsepower and 440 on the torque, it is a beast. And like I said in my video, I still think it's going to outperform the Wrangler Rubicon 392 because of the weight and because of the basically the older technology, naturally aspirated 392 versus the boosted 3.0. Now, if you're in Baja mode, the turbos are staying spooled up, so there's more. Nothing's instant, but there's more available horsepower and torque there waiting for that next move or that next turn or that next jump. So I'm thinking that, overall in the performance that 418 and 440 is going to be sufficient.
Where are you at with this, Mr. Santa?
Well, actually, I'd heard some rumors that actually the horsepower number was 420. It came up at 420. Ford couldn't say 421, and so they lowered it a couple just to prevent any kind of rumors starting on the internet and such. But I don't know, Dwayne, what's the actual real world difference? What could you equate that to with 418 versus 430, 440 horsepower? What would people see or notice?
I don't know if I don't know if you would notice anything. It's cool to look on a dyno, right? Looking at the rear wheels and see something. Now, of course, those numbers are going to be flywheel numbers, I'm certain. But if you look at the torque, I was thinking 510 because if you look at the ability of the 3.0, at least the aluminum version, all aluminum version of the 3.0, the potential is there to do some pretty crazy stuff with the torque.
Mm-hmm.
But, as a manufacturer, you have to remember reliability is there. This is a vehicle you want to get 300,000 miles plus before any major repairs.
I just want to get 8,600 out of the way before I have any major repairs.
I know. I hear you. I'm sorry to hear that too. But
that's fine.
No, but I think that when you look at the MPG, you have to make everyone happy in the government. You have to make the vehicle last. You're not taking the engine to its true potential, right?
Yeah.
So there's room left in there for tuning that'll help that. Now, for certain things I tried to see at Supercell East is, does this engine have a oil catch can?
Right.
I didn't see one, but then again, was it this? They were also pre-production. So you remember we weren't looking at the finished product.
Yeah.
So Tim, to answer your question, I don't know between 418 and 445 if you would notice it. I think it's bragging rights on paper is more of what it is. But I think the torque number, if you went to 510, you're starting to feel a vehicle that just will crawl up the side of, at least it'll feel like it'll crawl up the side of a mountain straight up.
Yeah, I will say though, I mean, could they make that little 3.0 hit 500 horsepower? Of course they could, if they truly
Yeah.
want to. But at the same point, you can't outdo what the major Raptor, the F-150 Raptor, is doing. You don't want to even come close to it because they've invested a lot of money in that vehicle. You know, the F-150 Raptor is pretty specific. The framing and everything is pretty specific to just that vehicle. Where Bronco Raptor, yes, they've upgraded the current framing to for reliability, but I thought it was about in line where it should be. Torque in that doesn't matter really as much to me in that. There's still a lot of torque no matter what. What is the 2.7s, what, 400 foot-pounds of torque, which is pretty crazy, really.
Yeah.
So we're getting into the world of crazy numbers. And with the Raptor itself, you know, you can put a freer exhaust on that, and you're gonna get I guarantee you somebody's gonna go out there and get 450 out of this with a couple simple mods. And go ahead,
So
Tim.
I was gonna say, I think Dwayne kind of hit it there. I think in a lot of cases, manufacturers pull those numbers back just for that reliability. I think with something like the Raptor, I think people are going to go out and send it. I'll say stupid things, do stupid things with it,
Mhm.
and push it, and so for them to maintain that reliability of
Yeah.
that engine, they're going to pull it back and to ensure that it people don't damage the engine in their actions.
Right.
Yeah. Make sure there's some there left, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to end up at a dealership because you did something stupid. No reason for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah. So, the other thing too we don't know the facts on those numbers. You know how the numbers are rated different between 87 octane on the 2.7 and
Yeah.
93.
Yeah.
So what are those numbers based on, the 93 or 87?
I think all day long 93. I
Yeah.
think that
You
Yeah.
would think so.
I would agree. They're going to put their best foot forward.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's going to be the high octane gas. Now that doesn't mean, what was it, the 107 or some of those places you can get that race fuel? Was that 100 and 114
101,
octane,
I
or
think,
whatever?
something like that. 100. Yeah.
Oh,
No,
you're talking about Cam 2?
Well, I don't just the good stuff.
Yeah. 110 and 112 or
yeah.
110, 112.
114.
Yeah.
Yes. I think
But it's also
110 is
like
what I run in my black car.
what, like right now it's like what, $10 a gallon or more, something like that. It's pretty
Yeah.
ridiculous.
It's all of it is.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt on that. That's a whole nother live stream. We could talk about gas prices, but I think it's good news. Luckily they didn't do 16 different versions of a Raptor where, you know, you get one more horsepower if you bought this version that's $10,000 more. And
Right.
I think the jury's out with this rig though, man. I really do. I think there's initial excitement with this, and I know, Dwayne, you wanted one, and I think you got one, correct? Or you're on the list to get one.
No, we have one ordered. We just do not have a build date yet.
Okay. But I think I think with the trucks, people understand Raptor. I think with the Bronco, it's just not enough different to it, man. In my opinion, especially after we all three stood around the thing, and I know you, Dwayne, you were excited by it, which you should be. You know, it is a cool rig, but at the end of the day, I look at mine. Well, I can't right now; it's in the shop. But when I look at mine and I see that one, I'm just like, meh. I mean, I always tell my audience I want all the horsepower I can get, but I don't know. I think that the Bronco Raptor could be a maybe a 2 to 3 year thing, and then it's gone.
Yeah. Well, see, here's the thing. I look at my 4-door Badlands, and I'm totally happy with it.
Mhm.
I mean, whether it's the Area 51 or the Eruption Green, they're both really nice. I like the way they look. So the Raptor is just that cool factor.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No doubt. Yeah. Oh, Dwayne's coughing.
Sorry about that.
Nope.
You know what? It was a couple of those.
I wasn't
live stream. So
I wasn't sure if he was done with his thought. I was going to jump in there and
yeah. No, I'm good. I'm good. Tim. I'm good. I'm here. But I think I really do like the way the regular Broncos look, and of course I like the Sasquatch. Like the 35-inch tires, the wider fender flares. I like the stance of that.
Mm-hmm.
But the and I know you love the fender flares, but the 37's KO2s on that is pretty sweet.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt at all, man. And, supposedly you're getting a little beefed up. I know somebody was messaging me today about that. They were asking me, is the Haas 3.0 worth it for the Wild Track? And it's supposedly the same now. If you get that system, you're getting upgraded steering rack and stuff. And I'm just like, I want to see this Raptor. I want to see people go do dumb things with it. And 6 months down the road, then I'm like, yeah, go ahead and upgrade those, because the 3.0 is a pretty big upgrade, right? 3,500 plus maybe.
It is. But,
So
but 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 you're getting a lot with that. I think if you look at the Raptor, if you look, the shock towers are taller.
mhm.
There's jump bumpers on it. So when I hear jump bumpers, I'm like, well, you're telling me I can jump this thing.
Yeah, but they said that you could do that in the Gen 1s and people were breaking them in half.
Right. So the frame has been
Well,
strengthened in certain places, you know.
I've heard that about running your Bronco through the mud too, that you would expect things to last
Right.
because that's how they market it.
I don't know on that.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, yeah, I definitely think that, but this was in relation. They were like, oh, well, these parts are for the Wild Track, we can get that 3.0 and you get this. And I'm like, you know what? For $3,500, I can go buy some top of the line coils and I'm not worried about it. The steering rack, there's always worry for that. Steering racks go out. It's just what they do, whether it be the hydraulic kind of versions that they use for years. They would just, in off-roading, that was one thing that the Nissans, the Frontiers and Xteras, like, you put 35-inch tires on it, the rack was going to prematurely wear. So it's
Right. Right.
that's the price to do business. And I think a lot of people that might have jumped into the Bronco world that might have been new to off-roading are all freaking out. Tie rods don't freak me out. I have some Bronco busters that I haven't put on there yet. Jury's out whether I'm actually going to do I have the little plastic ring. I talked to my Ford dealership about that this week when I dropped my Bronco off, and they were like, well, because I asked him, I said, if I install this, how does Ford look at that, putting that particular part inside their rack? And he's like, well, because they knew about the Bronc Buster. He's like, hey, man, have you heard about that? And I was like, yeah, they're sitting in the console. And he's like, it really comes down to, the dealership, the service department, and the actual guy that's diagnosing if you had, failure. He's like, it depends on how he feels about that part, really. And I'm like, I don't know that, I know Tyler's big deal was he sold that particular part on, well, racks are expensive, but you know what? Right now, racks are expensive, but I have a 3-year warranty. So I can't, do you, at the end of the day with that particular part, do you justify going, well, yeah, racks are expensive, and then it fails with that part in it, which Tyler says it won't, but life finds a way, right? Jurassic Park, like, things happen.
Right.
So I'm a little nervous on that. So with the 3.0, I'm not eager to push people towards that, because like I said, I can go pretty high end coils all the way around for $3,500, and it's probably better than the 3.0 system now. Because I will say too, the 2.0 system they have in the Broncos now, that's really cool for a stock setup. But if you truly are going to wear and tear that vehicle, it's a stock setup that's not made to honestly wear and tear as much as a lot of people use with it. So I'm kind of with that on that. But if you're saying like with the Raptor and all that, like that gives you more security about, I'm totally with it.
Yeah, I think there's the thing about the Raptor too is the unique ability, right? That you're going to have in a trim that I don't know how many they're going to build. Have you heard that number? I mean,
I'd heard $5,000 is what I'd heard. Nothing official from Ford, but that's what I'd heard, which is still quite a few of them things floating around.
Yeah, but remember in 07, I got a GT500 Shelby Mustang, and I got it in July of 06, but it was an 07, and they were supposed to build 8,500. Well, now they're still building the GT500s, and they're full-blown race cars now.
Oh, sure.
Versus what we had then was 500 horsepower. And we were bragging at that. Now they're what, 760 or 740?
Yeah, now you barely almost will get a Raptor that with a V6 that is there.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then the 3.0 or the 3.5 and the Ford GT, which is incredible. The horsepower. So there's so much that has changed. But I think getting back to the Bronco thing. Okay, so if like we ordered Code Orange because it's a unique
best color out there. Good
I think
job,
so.
Dwayne. Good job.
But it's there's going to be a lot of them, but it's a unique Ford performance color.
See,
So there'll be a lot of Raptors.
I don't
But
think there will be, because when we were at Celebration East, they were talking, the Ford people were there talking, and they said that, I want to say it was, they told us that the top color is black because of the fenders. People were wanting
right.
somewhat to look like they belong on the vehicle. But I think when I order my Ranger Raptor, I'm getting the code orange. Like, I want the special color for that vehicle, because these are special vehicles.
Yeah, it is. And
Black's
I
a
mean,
special color.
what do you
No,
think, Tim?
I'm just saying I want.
I'm saying black's a special color.
No, they're all cool colors, but I'm saying if I'm ordering a high-end vehicle, I want the color that makes it the most unique. I think for resale, I think that's better. Not that most of
Yeah.
these vehicles I'm looking at, not for resale, but I think the average person would.
So go ahead.
I was gonna say, I one of the things I looked at when I ordered the Bronco in Area 51, my thought is that was going to be an unpopular color, not as popular. Turns out, I think it's probably the most popular of the Broncos so far. But it's nice to see them everywhere.
Right.
Well,
Honest Tim says you need to start the damn fire bourbon there.
oh,
I
okay.
I don't know exactly if there's a hidden meaning with honest with that, because
Well,
but
speaking of the black Broncos, that in our area, there's more base Broncos in black with the Steelies than any other color that I've seen here.
well, I know when I worked for Nissan, their top colors for like the truck line, it was black, silver, and white were the top 3 colors for that they would sell. And after that, it was like, well, just sprinkle in whatever. But the people want the classic colors. They want their just standards that they definitely want.
So, Area 51, Tim, I agree. Early on, I didn't think there'd be too many takes on that because it's such a unique color. It's flat. There's no metal flake in it. It depends if it's dirty, it looks one color. If it's clean and, looks another. Because I struggle with that color big time, but I see it sitting in the garage like tonight because, the Area 51 lives the good life. It stays in the garage. The eruption greens stays out in the driveway, roughing it.
Wow.
Have you gotten the underside of that thing dirty yet?
It's still a mall crawler, but come maybe Saturday, I think it hits the beaches of Corova and Corolla.
Dwayne, what is the deal? Because you've said this a lot, and I don't think you've ever explained the 2001 or 21 is sort of the baby that I think you just want to keep as maybe more of a collector's item, and the other one you're willing to dirty, or what is the deal with that?
I don't know. I mean, it was the first one. Gavin wants it.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is that'll be his first you say car, but technically it's a truck, an SUV. Right. That's going to be his first ride, I should say, in about 6 years. That's a scary thought. Right. But it's all about, if you look at our intro to our live stream that comes on, there's that shot from underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
It was the one vehicle that I could keep looking at the underneath and filming and doing different things, which I have a couple more videos that I wanted to do about it, but I wanted it clean in the process. But it gets sandy, not muddy, but it's going to get sandy here come this weekend, Saturday. Nice. So it'll get dirty finally. I know. And I've had a couple of people notice that. They said, I don't know what it is, but you don't want to get it dirty.
Yeah. John Wiedemann he just wants his Bronco, which I feel for John. John's a day one. Yeah. And like some of these guys still haven't sniffed a order. And there's, I'm working on a story where I'm being sent people that, I ordered mine and I didn't even do a reservation. I just ordered it in December and I got it now. And there's people in these streams that are just like, hey, why can't I seem to get one? You can give everybody else one. And there's no real answer to that. But John, I completely understand. And Imp Shows says he understands why people like cactus gray, but can't stand it. The thing I like about that color is it's a throwback color that I find interesting. It's a throwback vehicle. So there is a kind of that classic color to that. I personally don't like the green. I don't think it's horrible. It's not for me. I
Come
get
on,
why
man.
people
Quit
like it.
bashing my green Bronco.
No, I'm not bashing it. I get why you like it, and I get why
Yeah.
people. I saw it on the Raptor. It looked good on the Raptor. I'm not gonna
Mhm.
lie. But that color's not for me. I think the Area 51. Me and Kelly, it's said it many times. Like that was the color we could sort of agree on, and then after I saw it in person, I was just like, it's kind of plain.
Right.
Which honestly, for a Bronco, probably should be plain colors because that's how they would have initially came. White's always a classic color. Like you can't, that people, you're always going to have people that want to buy that from you. But no, I do hope because 23 orders are popping very soon, and it was on Bronco 6G. And let me see if I can find that real quick, and I'll pull that up because it's kind of news, and I am curious about what y'all's take on this, and we will definitely get to the other stuff.
Dave, Tim, one thing I saw, and I didn't get a chance to read it right before we went on. There was something about people bailing on Bronco orders, so they're piling up. Did you see that? I'm like, are you kidding me?
Clickbait. People accuse me of clickbait on these Facebook groups, and I'm like, look, man, I just put a thumbnail up. Whether you click it or not, I don't lie to anybody at my thumbnails. But that company, that particular company, who I don't want to mention, I mean, you guys can, but I just don't like them.
Yeah,
they are notorious for that. And of course, now all it takes is people won't even open the link. They'll just start in Facebook getting upset about it and commenting and never really read anything about it. But yeah, so let's pull this
Get
up.
off my lawn, dude.
That's right. Get off my lawn.
Off my lawn with your clickbait and your pictures of the people with the colored logos and
so this popped up on Bronco 6G, guys. Ford is expected to start the 23 model year ordering 815, which I did tell everybody late summer.
Right.
Some dealers are taking pre-orders to help customers get early in line, which is totally unethical. There is no pre-orders if they can't pre-order till the banks are open up. So if you're giving your dealer money, we need $1,000 or whatever it is to get your spot in line. No, don't do that at all. But I'm not sure where they came up with this, but
well, the other thing, Dave, is there's probably going to be at this point unannounced changes for 23 that we don't yet know about.
New colors. Yeah, I guarantee you get 2 new colors.
Right. So you're getting in line for something and like,
right. Which colors do you think so if they add 2 new colors, and I suspect they're going to add a maroon, something like that, because there's been some hinting of some advertisements for that color. And I would honestly think maybe a canary yellows. What colors do they do away with?
What do they do away with? That would be hard.
Map can only shoot, I think it's 12 colors at a time. So they can't add too many.
I think Cyber Orange goes away. And I think maybe a boxwood green shows up.
But do they do away with your green then?
That's a good question. Boxwood green and eruption green are totally different ends of the color chart.
Right.
So one is it's green, right? Yeah. But grayish, greenish, right? And one is just straight up hardcore outdoors green.
Right.
Did you see my Instagram post? We were on a trail in the woods, and it was funny. I took a picture, and you couldn't tell where the hood ended and the trees began. Right. In the eruption green one. It was just a cool look.
Oh, yeah.
So it's almost like, well, that's why that color was there.
Oh, I had a 95. I bought brand new in 95, a Firebird that was basically, I don't know what color they would have called it back then, but it's basically the color you have now. I'm not like hating on the color.
Yeah.
I've owned that color, but Tim, where are you at? What 2 colors could you see them having to put on the shelf for a while?
I don't know about colors taken out. I'm not a good guess on that one, but I would like to see something just a little different, a little more heritage in the sense of, maybe it was a root beer. The root beer I hear a lot.
Yeah. And somebody just mentioned that like a brown and maroon. I think it was Cole mentions that. There is that they're doing on the F-150. There is that kind of a, not copper, but it's not fully brown. It's somewhere in between,
like a burnt copper or
something like that.
Yeah, burnt orange.
Yeah.
The other one, I saw some footage. Johnny was working with from his trip off rodeo, and they had a series of panels. I think is like decorative things on the wall, and one of them was the candy apple red.
Yeah.
On
Well,
the
but
Bronco.
really, Rapid Red was pretty close to Candy Apple. It could have been just a hair darker, but it was pretty close to Candy Apple, which was one reason I liked that color. It was kind of a throwback color.
I think they bring back antimatter blue and
really
Rapid Red. Yeah.
Well, I really believe what Mitchell said about that, where the reason they might have gotten rid of those is because they were just difficult to paint. And
I don't disagree with that. I think that a lot of that stuff can be difficult, and then the more I've been watching, I'm sure other people have watched this, but a body shop that's painting a vehicle, and it's a metallic type thing, and he was talking about having to shoot everything at one time, all in one direction. That way all the panels and the flake and everything lines up the same direction, instead of trying to individually shoot different like door panels and stuff versus the rest of the body.
Well, let me bring this up, and definitely we're going to get onto the we could talk Broncos all day, but I want to bring up, this is Ford's website for their build and price for the F-150. So this is a good idea of the color palettes they have, and I want to say that this is Alto Blue, that's blue metallic. They're Atlas Blue. There it is. Just yeah, I really think that would be a color that might pop on the Bronco.
That's sharp.
Yeah, it's a good looking color. It's kind of gives you that color changing that the antimatter did, but at the same point it doesn't. But guess what? What you have here? It's carbonized gray. Why did it look green on there?
Oh, would it look boxwood kind of from there?
Yes. This is their smoked metallic tint, which it looks pretty good. Seems like they got 5 different whites here. What's going on there? Oh, that's silver. Oxford white, which we all have seen. What's this one? Star white metallic. I could see them doing it in a metallic white, definitely. And what do we got here in the end? There is a space white metallic. And then there is this stone gray metallic. I could see that color popping on Bronco.
It's kind of a retro look. I mean, right? On a Bronco,
Yeah.
Wouldn't you think so?
Oh, definitely. No, I definitely think so.
What's that orange one there, Dave?
This one here, is this code orange or whatever they call it?
No, that's Ford Performance.
That's race red. That's race red.
Race red.
Which,
so what do you think about race red? Being that it's a flat color, do you worry about fading?
I do, but I know there's been several people, not just one person. I've had several people hit me up about Bronco Raptor. Why did it not get race red? And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe it's just not a special enough color, but that seems to be a color that maybe those fenders actually look pretty good with.
So
yeah, the red and white contrasting.
Yeah, switch over to something a little flashier like the Mustang or something.
Oh my!
I think that's where you can get into some cool colors for,
the
Bronco.
So I think they have, at least on the GT500, the code orange on that one, because it's a Ford Performance color. I would think that
it's exclusive. Ford... Yeah, it's exclusive to that.
Yeah.
So we had one here in the local dealership that was like a safety yellow or high vis yellow, high vis green. I don't know. It was really bright. It was really gaudy. And if I hadn't bought the Bronco, I probably would have bought it.
All right. So I'm going to use the GT Premium because I want to say they're probably offering a little bit more colors for this. So let's see what the, so there's black, shadow black, Oxford white with the Mustang, iconic silver. Let's see, probably race red if it ever changes. Yeah, the race red, rapid red, which is the color I like. This blue, Atlas blue metallic, which we saw earlier. This grabber blue, I could see them doing this with Bronco.
Yeah,
because we've seen some wraps that definitely have used this sort of Smurfish color. I hate to call it a Smurf color, but I've seen some wraps that look really good in this. But guess what? What's this one? Is this Cyber Orange? Okay. dark matter gray, which once again that was on the F-150. This purple. So let's see if I can
See, now I would take a Bronco in that color.
No, I think so. I think that's
I would
it's
take
a
the
good looking
color.
color.
Yeah.
I think Ford needs to take a page out of what makes Wrangler so popular is they offer a bunch of unique colors that you can't get on anything else. And this would be a fun color, I think, for Ford to offer.
Well,
Guys, in
can
the
you
comments, let
imagine
me
that?
know what you think.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that color right there with a white top.
Yeah, I could see that definitely. I'm not one of the guys that need a white hard top, but it would look great. Yeah, I
You
think
worry about the maintenance aspect of that, don't you?
I do because people tend to not clean tops a
Yeah.
lot. They wash
Right.
their vehicles, and tops you got to kind of scrub them a little bit. They mold and stuff likes to get in the little crevasses or whatever and build in there. And
Bossier.
yes. But but so yeah, that would be for the white top for me. But I get it. I think the old classic Broncos look great with the smooth hard tops, but the new ones I'm not sold on just yet. But we'll see. I do hear rumors of Heritage coming out next year. So once again, you might be right, Dwayne, that we see something in 23 that might open the door for that.
Yeah.
Should that be a factory option? The Heritage Edition, or should that just be left to the aftermarket?
I don't know. I'll let you guys answer that. Let me think on that just a second. What do you think? What do you think, Tim?
I think it should be left to the aftermarket. This is a new vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
The old Broncos are the old Broncos, and I think that there should be from a manufacturing standpoint that delineation between the two. And like you, I think Dave, you mentioned it last night. It's a Gen 6, but it's really not a Gen 6 Bronco. It's not the next evolution of a current running model. There was a 25-year gap in between them. So it's a new vehicle. And I think that I don't dislike what I've seen people do in kind of getting that older feel and look to it. But I think that's something that's probably better served in the aftermarket and on a individual type basis than trying to mass produce a old looking Bronco.
Yeah. So I want to pull up a Rubicon here. And just so we can, because remember, this isn't just Bronco show.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to show you guys kind of what I was talking about with fun colors, because here is now with Jeep, everything but white is an upcharge. That's just how they operate, which I respect. I would rather them just say, hey, this is, well, you get white for no upcharge and everything else here. There's a price to it versus like Ford's doing, well, this one's $295 or this one's $395.
Just as a side note, a white vehicle, if you want to wrap it, that's the best vehicle to have anyways.
Oh, of course.
It's the most versatile and easy to wrap.
Which is why that's why my buddy with Lifestyle Off-Road bought white. He didn't particularly like if he was going to, order his dream color, it wasn't white, but because he knows he was going to wrap it constantly, he would do that. But so this is Rubicon's going to be their trim. It's probably going to offer the most color choices for them. So let's start out with, let's see if we can. That's the black version. It's a classic color on Jeep. We'll go from. So then you've got this black clear coat. It's it's got a hint of gray into it. Why is this not? Why is their site acting silly? It's literally not changing any.
Oh, look at that.
Any colors. Watch. Oh,
there you go.
But okay, so here's a prime example. This is, what do they call this? What are you doing?
It looks like it's trying to select two colors at one time. Is that pumpkin orange?
No, that's what they call fire engines. So this is high velocity clear. Let me expand that. Now, is this color for everybody? No, not at all. But guess what this does? It's an exciting color that somebody that may, I particularly like bright colors, so I may jump on a color like this.
That is definitely going to stand out on the road when you drive by, whether somebody likes it or not.
Yeah, which is what you want.
Stands out. Yeah.
You want this in a vehicle like this is an attention vehicle, definitely.
That's marketing.
Yeah. And this is where I think Ford falls short just a little bit on it. And maybe some of it's due to Maps capabilities, because if you go to Toledo, the dedicated Wrangler Gladiator plant is huge. It's not the biggest plant in North America, but it's pretty freaking huge. So they have a lot of options that they can do with that. Where MAP is tiny. MAP is the smallest plant I've ever seen. When you drive up there and see it, you're like, wow, they're building these there. Like, where do they build these
Pretty
from
condensed.
there? Yeah, so it's pretty limited, and I think that's one reason too why you don't see a truck version yet, because they don't have the space for it. I think if they were to do it, you have to move Ranger out of that plant. But back to the colors, Ford probably should jump into some exciting colors. Like, guys, in the comments, let me know on this. Where are you at with this? Obviously, this is the tan that they offer. I do think that the tan that's on the Everglades is a better looking sandy tan than this one. And definitely, trust me, that tan color is a response to Toyota and these other companies doing that color. But no, I guess to kind of, let's wind down Bronco talk here.
Yep.
And here's, my snazzleberry.
Well, Dave, let me say this. I'm always busting Jeep chops about stuff because it's the Bronco Jeep thing. It's all fun, right? But I will say this, that the Jeep dealership down the road from us looks like a Skittles bag. I mean, the way they get them in, they don't have any of the same colors next to each other. They mix it up, so you get to really see all the selections that you can get with a Jeep.
Yeah.
And there's some pretty bright colors, and I like that color right there. What is that called?
It's called Hydro Blue, something like that. Hydro
that's
Pearl.
Do you
pretty
think you think the Gladiator's got different colors?
No, Gladiator. Well, I take that back because they were doing the green. Let's go to Gladiator real quick. Yes, because
this was a couple of years ago. That Gladiator Rubicon that I was looking at was pumpkin orange, which was kind of a cool color.
But they do special colors 1 year only. Jeep is known to do that they will just throw out, let's go to Gladiator real quick. I hate to say no so quickly and then just talking out of my ass on that particular.
What's better? It's better that we bust you instead of the chat doing it, because when the chat busts you, then you just live with it.
All right, so here's the color choices. It looks pretty much, except you're not getting the green, that lime green. I know they were doing a whatever our friends with Shocker Racing, they have that green Jeep. They were doing a green Jeep like that for
the Mojito green.
Yes, they were
green.
doing that for this. I don't know if it's particular packages or not, but so yeah, I'm curious. Go ahead, Tim.
Oh, I was gonna say Bird Dog Overland. We got you covered on the Toyota here in a little bit.
Yes, sir. I know. Bird Dog would love to talk at Toyota. Ultimately, the Raptor numbers I think are pretty in line with where they need to be. Could there be more? You can always have more horsepower. I'm not sold on the vehicle. I'm supposed to get to drive one this summer to do a review on it, so we'll see.
Down in Virginia?
No, that'll be in Michigan. So I could have been in a Lightning this weekend and just couldn't make that happen. But when you smash that like button, you know what that does? That helps those things happen. So smash the like button, guys.
And it supports a poodle too.
Yes, there. Yeah. Well, no,
it feeds a poodle.
It supports my mutt.
Feeds a poodle.
Yeah. No poodle, no expensive poodles here. I'm mutt territory.
I guess, would you have been able to stuff your junk in the frunk in that Lightning, or?
Could be. Yeah. If you need to put your junk in something, it's a good place to put it, I guess.
I only hear it only holds one bag of junk, not multiple bags of junk.
I'm sure you can get multiple bags of junk in there, man.
I think with the EV thing, to me, it's just unusual. You don't hear the engine, right? So my entire life driving,
have either of you driven an EV yet?
I have not.
I've driven a golf cart,
which
kind of acts like an EV, but
no. So Dwayne, I drove my first fully EV when I was in Texas a few weeks ago. I drove the Kia GT line, whatever, EV6. I forget what they call the thing. It is pretty strange. Like, I've driven hybrids before, like the 4xe. I've driven that where it's got the regenerative braking and all that, and it's kind of strange. But it was crazy to hear. It's almost like being in Star Trek when you hear the little electric motors that
whining.
Yeah, you're like, well, this is crazy.
The winding up, and that's something I have to get used to. Now, how did it feel torque wise?
Oh,
Crazy.
dude! I was in a sedan or a 4-door little car. It's a 4.5-second car. Like me and Tim Esterthal last night talked a little bit about that. 0 to 60 anymore in that takeoff is not impressive to me. It's just, I mean, every one of them do the exact same thing within a couple hundredths, like it's not, for me, it's not, I still want mechanical. When I drove the Lexus LC500, which is a V8 little coupe that it's like a grand touring car that Lexus does. That was way more exhilarating, and it wasn't probably as fast.
You want the fire.
I do. I want the heat.
You want the fire, and you're not going to get the fire with the EV.
I need the explosions.
Hey, can I throw up something about EV and the
Go ahead.
building industry? That look, there's several articles that talk about this. And it talks about surface area for charging versus filling with gas, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the whole conversation is about, well, if a car takes anywhere between 6 and 10 minutes to, and I don't even think 10 minutes is where you'd go in and buy your M&Ms and pay for your gas and come out. But most of us use a credit card, right?
Right.
So you can fill up a average vehicle in how many minutes? 5 to 7?
Yep.
Something like that. And you're down the road, right? Well, think about charging. What's the charging duration? 30 minutes? 20 minutes, 40 minutes. So this use an average of 30. So if you start to look at the building for the charging stations, you're starting to look at, as you get more EV vehicles, you start to have you actually have to have more service area or surface area for impervious areas. So think about impervious areas, that you have vehicles sitting on for these charging stations. So now your gas station now is maybe quadrupling in size for a charging
don't tell
station.
Buc-ee's that though, Dwayne. Buc-ee's have got that handled. Trust me.
Because it's a huge place, right? But I'm just thinking that's some of the conversations that are going. I'm not for it, against it, nothing. Yeah. I'm just saying that is some of the conversations that's being had in the building industry right now. Well, okay, how much ground surface do we need, right, to charge?
Yeah. Well, you're talking about EVs. Me and Tim were talking privately, and this come up. This is on CNBC, but they're talking about jacking up the prices of EVs, and we were talking offline about some of there's a material cost right now, which we all understand. Dwayne, you build houses for a living.
Mm-hmm.
You probably know more than anybody about material costs. But I think something these articles I'm seeing is, it's talking about here, automakers are jacking up the prices on electric vehicles to bake in rising material cost. But I think a lot of this is due to the fact that the auto industry is being told to ramp this up. But guess what? These raw materials China and Asia and even Russia, a lot of these materials are coming from. And guess what? They're not ramping up. They're pulling of these minerals they need for the lithium batteries and all this. And I think these articles like this are oh well, they've got to the higher cost. It's like, no, they're just battling each other now for materials. And I know when I sold vintage guitars and I was in the guitar world for a long time, there would be auctions for wood. So there is the tiger striping of wood, which is very desirable for your Les Paul guitars, stuff like that. They have these major wood auctions for this stuff. And I have a feeling that you're going to start seeing auto auctions having to bid on lithium, cobalt, and all these materials that they're going to, and that's what's really going to start controlling the market. Where are you guys at, Tim? I know we talked a little bit privately about this, but where are you at with this stuff?
Well, I think the largest lithium deposit in the ground right now is in an area of the world that we just walked away from. That's all I'm going to say. No, it is the cost of doing business is going up, and there's going to be some of that, and there's also going to be, and we've hit on this, the tax incentives that the federal government's providing for the EVs. I mean, I think they had was it 2,300 or 200 or 300,000 units of credits, and most of these manufacturers are getting close. Toyota was the one I read about, where I think they were 20,000 away. They're getting popular. We're going to have to do something. And Dwayne's point, it's not that model of getting a vehicle in, getting it fueled up, and getting it out the door in a certain period of time to keep cars going through. They're going to have to figure something out to do that same model. If you're transferring electricity, either finding a faster way of doing it, or is there going to be other ways of transferring the electricity to the vehicle? Inductive charging on the roadway. Maybe the taxes that we pay, vehicle taxes and stuff like that, goes to the state to figure out how to set up inductive charging along the interstate. So you're driving over these paths, capturing that electricity as your vehicle goes over it, and you then extend your range. I don't know. There's a lot of those things that need to be looked at.
I think there's some major breakthrough. There's something nobody's thought about that some kid at MIT is working on right now that's going to just open this up. I think EV
I'm sure Mark Rober has already found him on YouTube,
right,
and is currently working with him on a video that they'll be doing here shortly.
But so this article was talking about too, though, versus companies like Rivian and some of these who are startups. They rely on capital. If they don't have investors, they're dead from the get-go.
Yep.
But it was talking about the legacy advantage in this article about how Ford, GM, and the big three, they have piles of cash that they can just sit there and I can lower the cost of that. I can buy more bulk. And I think that's where obviously Tesla's the king of EV right now. You're silly. Our current president is silly to say that, oh no, GM's leading the way for EV when GM doesn't really sell any EVs. Yeah. I don't consider the Hummer right now really sales. They're producing them at a snail's pace. Some of that is I would like to think that they're trying to learn how to properly manufacture this stuff and to do it in a timely manner. That takes time. This is a brand new manufacturing process for these companies. And two, I just think that, you're going to have to follow what Tesla does a little bit on this stuff. And Tesla is probably a legacy company now. You could consider them that for EV. So Rivian and some of these companies, I think, are with these price jacks. I think they're dead. Tim, I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, where some of these companies are going to die. And I think the rising cost of all this, like maybe if the lithium and cobalt all go to auction, that's where they really get killed.
Well, I think that in the other side of the coin on that one is it will drive innovation. Companies, one of the problem with legacy companies in general, not even referring to the automobile industry, but legacy companies in general tend to get into this philosophy of they've got this cookie cutter model. They've got it worked out. They continue to do it. And then all of a sudden this little guy named Elon comes in and just disrupts the market.
But you know how he did
something different.
They ignored him. They ignored EV. GM for years had toyed with it in the 90s, the EV1 or whatever they called it. They ignored that. Then GM toyed around with the S10 sort of with it. You could get like 80-mile range or whatever. GM was set to own EVs, and they didn't want to mess with it, so they let little Elon over there with Tesla, the little startup. And many people think he started Tesla. He did not start Tesla. Elon's biggest thing for him is management. Like, he knows how to manage people and get the most out of them, I think. But they ignored it. And even Nissan had a chance that could have been a leader in the EV world and just never fully committed. And now all these companies are playing catch up with Tesla.
Yeah, you mentioned Elon. Elon is he is the inventor of compressing time.
Yes.
Right. So you mentioned management. Mm-hmm. And they just enable the company itself to compress time and get so much more done without burnout. So yeah, he is pretty brilliant in that department.
Yeah. So Birddog Overland says here, I would rather lease an EV than buy it. Well, the future's coming, buddy, and you're not going to buy these things. These car companies, Tesla said for years now they are wanting to create a lease system where the car shows up when you need it and it goes away when you don't need it. So and that's not new. They've been talking about that for probably 8 years.
Is that Uber? Or
Well, it's
I mean,
something like
it's essentially that same kind of model.
yes, yes.
Because a lot of these things I think are going to be self-driven anyways. So is it just Uber without a biological driver?
Oh, for sure. I think so.
Uh, going back to Elon and just his philosophy. It's interesting. I don't know if a lot of people know this. He has Asperger's, which is part of the autism spectrum. It's not referred to that anymore, but he just has a different way of looking at things, and that's what creates that disruption. He sees stuff that other people don't.
Yeah.
And they have done a incredible job of putting rockets up in the air, redesigning the way we look at vehicles and stuff like that. But then if you also look at their policies, they don't look at somebody with a college degree and exclude them. They give aptitude tests, and that's how they decide on whether you get hired, is if they determine what aptitude you need to have. Do you have the ability to learn, the ability to understand this information and process it and execute on it? And that's what they use as their qualifying factor for employees. So it's really interesting on how they do that, where a lot of these other places, engineers, you got to have this degree, you got to have this, you got to do these things. And they just kind of disrupt the entire market and how they do things. And they're
look
getting
at
great.
Einstein was, a dropout, like couldn't get into schools. They thought he was too dumb. And, that's just sort of a generic genius now. But no, I totally like that. But as far as we'll wrap up EVs, we talk a lot, probably too much about EVs, but they're coming.
They're here. They're the future.
Dwayne, when that EV, can you see your construction fleet switching to EV?
If the distance would greatly increase. So if there's two sides to let's say the trades industry, right? Home services, construction. There's the repair, the service, the heating and air service technician. Depends on where they are, whether they're in rural areas, suburban areas. They can drive 200, 300, 400. 400 is a stretch, but anywhere between 2 and 250 miles in a day, servicing HVAC, right? Maybe 300. Well, that's going to greatly affect. I know that sounds like a stretch, but trust me, I can tell you from experience, it's happened within our company. So that is a stretch, right? However, if you're dealing with a construction crew, a framing crew that are going from the shop or from their house to the job, that's doable even today. So I think there's two sides to it. There's the service division, which runs all over the place and gets it done. Some HVAC guys work 12 hours, 15 hours a day. And like I said, depends on where your workload is. You might be driving, like in southeastern Virginia, if you drive from Virginia Beach to Williamsburg and back, you're putting some miles on a vehicle. So what type of service are you talking about, or a construction company or whatever?
Yeah. No.
So I think that's important. But yeah, what about, so if a service technician was able to charge at a customer's house while they're there, but that's going to be difficult because now they want to charge to do the repair and somebody wants to charge for electricity. So there's that to work through. Whereas on a construction site, what about what about a construction site?
We'll give you credits on your bill while we charge your vehicle, our vehicles at your.
Well, think about a construction site, right? We set a power pole that powers the tools needed to build the house or the building. Right. What if there's some universal mobile EV charging station, right? That then charges any electric or EV work vehicle that's there. I mean, those are all some of the things that we're thinking about. Bronco 78 had a good comment, like way, way, way back over there. I've been trying to fit it in, but restaurants, retail stores, anywhere you go needs to have the ability to charge, because while you're in there shopping, your vehicle's charging.
Kind of, and Kevin's like, till they get around a 600 range, I don't see it happening, which I kind of agree with, because truly a 600-mile range is really, depending on your conditions, a 400-mile range, which is more practical.
Right.
Do you think though to fix and I'm not a government guy by any means. I'm pretty not anti-government, but I like them out of my business. Do you think that ultimately to make EV work properly that you need the federal government to take over the grid system? And which is this is a scary proposition, but why I say this, and once again, I'm not a government guy, but you need a structure set up for the interstates. You need like Tim was talking about, some way of traveling over. It's constantly charging your vehicle as you're using it somewhere like that. Um, Power companies do not like working with each other. They're all very in Nashville they have NES, but here in Middle Tennessee we have Middle Tennessee Electric. They don't like playing along. They're very territorial with how they want their zone and for their customer bank. Is it or maybe not government? Is it where some industry like a Tesla could just take the power grid and like, hey, we'll handle that now. We'll do it cheaper. We'll innovate faster, because with there not being one particular way of one company doing all your power sources, there's no give. I'm trying to think how to say this. There's no reason for the little guy to want to jump up to where the big guy is, as far as like making it easier to charge these things.
So there's basically three companies though, Dave, in this whole scenario. You got power producers, you've got distribution companies, and then you got brokers that sometimes broker between different producers and distribution companies. And that's kind of the three basic units there that make that up. And generally I've found that because the territory that they're in is regulated, distribution companies can't cross over lines. Not like you can with telephone
but there's no reason for them. But there's no reason for them to want to. I mean, you guys buy things. This company makes this same product that this company does, but they do something just slightly different. We need some sort of structure.
All that stuff's actually regulated under national code. So whether you're going to Tennessee or Indiana or California, all the electrical should be set up the same way.
Right.
Slightly different in Canada, I think. Definitely different overseas.
Well, if we only had a Canadian on this show.
Where's my buddy Johnny when we need him? Hey,
I know.
Listen, what if I told you the answer might be in life insurance?
How's that?
So in our area, for example, I know somebody's getting ready to comment. Go ahead, let her rip. So in our area, you talked about the government, right, with the roadways, interstate systems, and whatever. So in our particular area, we have two right now bridges / tunnels. So we have a tunnel and a bridge that is a private owner. It's a private, public, some kind of ownership thing. And what happened was the company that built the tunnel then sold it to a couple of different life insurance companies. And the tolls is what feeds the system, right? So it's sustainable. It's an asset. It sits there. It generates cash every single day. It's not going anywhere, and it's long term. Well, I can tell you that someone that needs that. That's why when you look at, and this is not investment advice, but when you look at certain funds that even when the market goes crazy continues to make money, that's kind of what the instruments are. Right. And so what if life insurance companies then started expanding and buying the infrastructure to do the charging stations, or you see what I mean? If they're doing it right now with bridges and tunnels, why wouldn't they do it with that?
Right.
Well, that's why I bought stock in a beer company.
Well, and I'm not talking out of my ass, but I'm definitely guys. This show, like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I exactly know. Like, especially with EV, I'm learning as we go with this. Yeah. So I'm just pitching ideas of like why. And there were some comments talking about there's New England area, and where was it? I'll find this. It was a good comment. Talking about the grid is, basically a national grid now. And yeah, like in the South, we have the TVA. They basically make all the power for the area. But I just think that somehow we've got to get these companies who have no interest to play along with each other to play along with each other, somehow not
Right.
force them, obviously, because once again, I'm pretty libertarian with my ideas of how I want government in my life.
Yeah.
But at some point, whether it be privatize a lot of this stuff with a Tesla
Well,
or somebody to, like Bell did with the telephone.
if they deregulate electricity like they did with telephone and cable and all that, the other forms of things, and then so you've got power company A in this area, they own the infrastructure,
Right.
but you can buy your electricity from anybody.
Mhm.
And they just deal, whoever's providing the electricity, whoever has your service has the meter, you pay them, they figure it out on the backside.
Right.
Yeah, and that's maybe one way to go. And then you start getting competition, and they start fighting for who's going to give you the better rate to have your service.
Right. And once again, there's no clear answers. And like I said earlier, I bet there's some person in MIT, there's some guy or girl there that's like years ahead of everybody. Even the guy that developed the lithium battery. I've read stories that they have a new glass technology that's out that can double and even triple the battery, the how much energy it can hold or transfer, and it's like supposedly half the weight of the current system too. So, I mean, innovation is coming, and I think we're all going to, in 10 years, be like, I did not expect this, how it works out.
It's always there. We just need to figure out a way to capitalize on cow farts. And if we could capitalize on cow farts, we would all be ahead.
Well, and speaking of cow farts, we've got the Toyota 4Runner. I like how I spin that.
Oh, man, what a segue, Dave.
I know. And I know a lot of people were wanting to talk about this, and save the best for last. But Toyota dropped the 4Runner on us today. It's a historic 4Runner. It's the 40th anniversary, which is kind of cool, but it's a lot of nothing. Is what this is. You get some special badging, and your leather and the seats are stamped a little bit, but ultimately it's not a lot. And you know why you do these special things? Because you're trying to prolong this one more year till you can get the next generation out.
Right.
And while this thing is a trooper, it's not an Isuzu trooper, but it has been a trooper, and it's a life, for the overland community especially, this is the vehicle you've always wanted. But that 5-speed transmission is pretty outdated. That 4-liter is pretty underwhelming. Me and Kelly did a review on one of these last fall. We did a 22 model, and the tech in the thing is horrendous. The screen in it is like it feels like something from 1990. It's so
this is
pixelated.
Still a Gen 5, correct?
Yes.
And so Toyota typically does a mid-gen, usually on an 8-year generation cycle, and they typically at the 4-year point refresh their tech.
Mm-hmm.
So if this came out in 2009, was Gen?
They've slightly refreshed this one from 9. It's got a digital, or it's got an LCD screen or whatever in it now, and it's got backup cameras and all the little goodies you'd want.
Yeah.
But the cameras of it are horrible.
So I had a 2016,
mm-hmm.
And it had a backup camera, but the display was small. I think it was smaller than the 8-inch screen in the
Peugeot. The Toyota screen is from a speak and spell. That's a great analogy for that, though, because the screen in this thing is pretty horrible.
The speak and spell 4Runner, but it does look like they've got adaptive cruise control in the front of this thing.
Does it? I didn't read anything about that. It wouldn't surprise me, but as far as like the power of this thing's pretty, I want to say it's like 260 or 270. It does say it in here.
So
it's very underwhelming,
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's very underwhelming for what you're getting. You're getting obviously the cool sticker package, which I said in a video I dropped earlier, and I don't remember the 4Runner getting this kind of look. I remember the little trucks getting that, with Ivan Stewart, man. That was the stadium racing. I don't know if you guys remember that at all. It used to be on ESPN all the time when we were young. From the LA Coliseum, man, you would see this, and Nissan, they would just battle, and then Chevy and Ford kind of played in that series, but it was really dominated by Toyota and Nissan. Definitely Ivan Stewart had that white truck with this kind of sunset look to it, but I don't remember the 4Runners having this look.
Yeah,
I don't either.
I mean, what do you think about that stripe on there? I think it's I mean, why not, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's sort of the retro kind of look. This reminds me of the two overlanding people that saw the other night that recognize your shirt, right?
yeah.
So they're driving the 4Runner overlanding deal. So you would imagine this right here. I mean, this is your overlanding rig almost ready to go, right?
Uh,
Or no, is
pretty
this more
close. I mean, pretty
luxury?
close. You're going to
I
put
mean,
new tires on this thing.
yeah, tires, racks. I mean, somebody's going to do a snorkel on a one or two of them, but I mean, overall, you could make
Axle
this a
swap,
nice rig and go.
Yeah. No,
undercut.
definitely. And the cool thing with Toyota that not a lot of manufacturers do is they purposely overbuild everything.
Yeah,
Like if they want an OEM part that, we don't want to service it for 100,000 miles, guess what? Toyota's standard now is 130,000 miles. Like they purposely overbuilt it, but it's built them a reputation of just quality and lasting,
yeah. I mean, they're known for the quality, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Well,
I
definitely.
mean,
and that was
no
what
question.
this is what I was saying earlier about companies. They're comfortable, right? This generation's been out since 2009 without some. It's a cookie cutter that with some minor updates to it. It's essentially the same vehicle that I
But I
bought
think
in
9
2016, which is the same vehicle in 2009.
did this come out around 9? But I know they refreshed it like in 2 years because sales were dropping really quickly. They had a little bit different headlights up, and they changed it pretty rapidly.
So
Do you
they
think
did do
this
it.
is
Yeah, it looks like they did a facelift in 2013 for the 2014 models.
Yeah.
So 4 years,
Mhm.
5 years.
Do you think this is a case where a company rests on their laurels? Like they forget the innovation part of it. Let's keep going, even though the numbers are good today. Let's keep
I think
setting
Toyota.
the pace.
So
I think. Oh, go ahead, Tim.
the I think the Japanese manufacturing culture is a lot different than
Super conservative.
they are. And once again, it's if we've got a product, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. And they run it for everything. And this even the forerunners are made in Japan. The cruisers were
Yeah.
made in Japan. And if I'm not mistaken, this is a Hilux. And
Pretty close, yes.
yeah, it's only available in left-hand drive countries, if what I read is on the beginnings of it. But it's built to last, and that's the way they roll.
Yeah, and I mean, you get these in Asia. They're Fortuners, is what they call them. But no, this thing is. These are, like I was saying, the Japanese are super conservative. Toyota seems to now. Obviously, they're a ultra profitable company, but they like partners now. They've partnered with Subaru on a few vehicles, whether it be the GR86 or whatever they called it 14 different times. They like partners, and they're a smart company now to want to partner with good companies. Does that mean down the road, do you think they find somebody that wants to do an SUV with them to make this more practical? Because everything about this thing is outdated. The seating of it's really outdated. The comfort level in general is pretty outdated. The tech in it's very outdated. I hate Toyota's shifting system that they put in these things. This little notch weird thing. It's just, Tim, I'm sure you got used to it, but it's kind of just strange to me.
Yeah, so I went from the the FJ with the manual transfer case, and it was it's basically a knob that you grabbed and pulled back as a shifter for the automatic. But yeah, there was a lot of, I mean, I went into that. I had a great run with the FJ Cruiser, 280 some thousand miles on it. And I traded it in, and I wanted to stay with Toyota. And this was like, yeah, this is the next thing. And
Right.
it shares a common platform like Ranger and Bronco does.
Mhm.
It shares a common platform, and I really enjoyed the FJ. I just got into that thing, and I was not happy. And I think a lot of it wasn't so much of the quality of the vehicle, but I was so used. One of the things I liked about the FJ, one of the things I like with the Bronco is its rugged, kind of sparse interior. And that was just a little too fancy for me.
Yeah, it's
And
definitely a different market.
it is. I mean, I don't see that necessarily, and you see plenty of YouTube videos of 4Runners and such in the off road, but I just don't see that in the same. I look at that and I see Chevy Blazer or one of the other Ford Explorer, kind of an SUV, not necessarily an off road vehicle.
Right. And do you think so? So obviously there's a lot of heritage with this vehicle being off-road. I remember the 80s, Toyota, Nissan first came out, I want to say with the four-door version, the Japanese were super scared to bring a four-door version of these things to the United States because they were like, nobody's going to buy them. And so both of these companies kind of pioneered it. And then rapidly Chevy jumped on with the Blazer platform and went to a four-door. But do you think for Toyota, this thing is like you were saying earlier, Tim, it was a little more plush than what you were kind of used to. Do you think that the next gen is even more plush and it goes completely independent suspension and they bring back an FJ Cruiser to fill that void of a true off-roader?
See, I don't know, because I think Ford has seen a lot of the woes with the Bronco, the opposite, right? There's people that wanted the off-road vehicle. Now there's people that are buying it and are like, God, this isn't like the Explorer. This isn't, fancy like the other ones. It's sparse. And I think there's very distinct crowds. I think that probably does stay a little bit more luxury. Yeah. I'd like to see him come out with an older, not an older, but a different style, more of an off-road type vehicle like the FJ. Yeah. But I do agree, the previous generations of the 4Runner, those to me spelled off-roading.
The 90s,
Gen 5 doesn't.
The 90s stuff that Toyota was doing I loved that stuff, man. It was small engines, but you could get a 3.3 in the mid 90s, which was like 160 horsepower. Now we would balk at that, like, oh my God, that is horrible. But they were super nice. And Toyota has this weird thing though, where they keep stepping their vehicles constantly up. Look at the Land Cruiser. The Land Cruiser has always been sort of in the US market, sort of a nicer, kind of like what the Jeep Grand Wagoneer was back in the day. It was an upper echelon vehicle, but it wasn't out of line to purchase, where like these things are probably 50 grand for a nice loaded 4Runner, which is pretty crazy in the pricing, and Toyota ended up pricing the Land Cruiser out of the market.
They have done that, yes.
And they seem to like to do that.
Hey, by the way, I've seen a comment a couple of times here, but what do you think about, so if Toyota revamps this, well, they will, and they launch it, Ford has the Everest that they're supposedly, I've seen this before, testing statewide. That's what someone said here in the comment, but I've heard it somewhere else. Wouldn't that be direct competition for the 4Runner and not the Bronco?
I think Ford has an SUV problem, though.
Well, they've become an SUV company.
Well, but the Everest is big in Australia and in the Asian markets, man. And I think it looks great. I really do. I think that thing looks great. But I was always told, so I have some expertise with Nissan in some of this stuff. So the Nissan, they make, there was the Xterra. It was the marketing of everything you need, nothing you don't. Second generation to compete with the 4Runner, they pushed it out a little bit more. But in Asia, they make what they call a Terra now. They just removed the X because Nissan actually didn't. It's crazy. They didn't own the Xterra name. They leased that name from, there is a bike race, some kind of race that's called the Xterra, and they leased that name. So to get away with the heritage of Xterra, they just called it the Terra. And I was told by people within Nissan that those vehicles they build for the Asian kind of Australian market aren't always, they don't think that the features that they offer there would translate here. Like it's not enough. Where I think if you came out with a vehicle like this, you came out with I don't know what you would call the next 4Runner, but some platform where it's roll up windows. I mean, it's no tech.
And obviously people would lose their collective minds around here without roll up windows.
No, but my point is, I think if you were to able to somehow offer a manual transfer case and all these like features that people don't want in, if I bought an off-road SUV, I want it to be an off-road SUV. some of the limiting factors of Bronco is
Mhm.
I think there's too much tech in the vehicle at some points. But I think if some of these companies were to offer maybe that Asian kind of market vehicle here in the United States, I think they would sell like gangbusters. And I
You know,
think the Everest is like that.
yeah. What about the and this is kind of shifting gears, but you were talking about less tech, also less safety stuff.
Mhm.
The T4 Troller. You ever heard anything about that?
Uh-uh.
So Ford bought a company in '07, Troller. They built this very Jeep looking like vehicle. It's pretty cool. I'm starting to do a video on it. It's sort of been a hobby of mine. I want to do this, and
Mhm.
the company, from what I understand, I'm still reading through this. So if I get this wrong, bear with me. But it sat idle for a little bit, and then they came out with the Troller T4. And then there was a variation. There was a basic model and a higher end model, but this thing had approach and departure angles that were crazy. However, it was a Brazilian company. And so
Mhm.
this is where when Ford announced in 2020 they were getting rid of the Brazilian um, wing of the company, that the Troller went away. But if you look it up, a T4 Ford Troller, man, this thing is crazy looking. I mean, but there again, it was more. They talked about the interior was sort of basic compared to say a new Bronco or
Mhm.
the tech. But think about it, that would be in direct competition with the Bronco. So you wonder,
Well,
you
but
know,
they said that with the Maverick and the Ranger. Part of the thing with Ranger was, oh, it's going to poach sales from F-150, which is they don't want that to happen. And I think it's done the opposite. When they got rid of cars, I think it allowed them to do more SUV stuff. But I think the SUV market for the big three is all about the luxury. I really
Dude.
think that it's not. I mean, look at the Expedition and all those style vehicles. Nobody's taking those things off road. I mean, I follow one guy, I think, with the Explorer that takes his, or no, it might be I forget which one he has, but he's built it to be a little off road toy. But nobody in reality is taking that vehicle off
Hey,
road.
hey Dave, take
Yeah.
that link I just sent you in a private chat. You got to copy the whole thing.
Okay.
This is the Troller. This is bad. This is
yeah, I
awesome.
mean, I'm telling you, if you put it
This
on
is
there,
awesome.
this thing
It's
is
almost
crazy.
like something that's gotten popular here. Suzuki's,
Mhm.
the
The little
Samurais,
Jiminis.
and those things. Those have gotten revitalized here recently,
Yeah.
and that
So
kind of just falls right into that
and
category.
and
But
what
there's
happened was Ford modified the T6 platform, right? The ladder frame, and they
Yeah.
shortened it, did some other stuff, and so at least Ford's version was pretty stout. But from
I
what I understand, the safety aspects, right? It wouldn't pass anything over here.
Oh
At
yeah, no
least,
doubt. Let's see. Let's pull this thing up.
so I've been interested in this, right? I've see the and that's more of a reverse ram air. I almost call it, well,
yeah,
it's not a wedge tail, but
go to the next picture, Dave.
yeah, the next one
Geez,
should
so
be.
demanding.
I am. Look at that. That is full on snorkel there for all your water fording needs.
Sure. That's a
Yeah,
Jeep ripoff is what that is.
Yeah, this company
that's more like a
started, I think,
Suzuki
in
Samurai
Troller started
ripoff.
in '94 or '95.
Mhm.
Their first vehicle was produced maybe '97, '98. And then they also had a truck. The truck was not a success, and that set them back a little bit. But then this was considered better than average off-roader.
Hmm. I've heard of that T platform, but I never realized where uh,
Yeah, it's
much about that.
when you
I
were talking about 4Runner would crank down windows, it kind of
Yeah.
brought me back to that, you know?
Oh, I think ultimately, no, people would have a shit fit about that and would be like, "Oh, I'm not rolling my own windows up and this and that." But I think there is a segment of the market because the market in general is getting so splintered with, there is an overland market now, and all these companies are catering to this. Trust me, Bronco was because Ford saw what Toyota is doing and what Jeep is doing and all these companies. I think that market is getting so okay, we'll build a vehicle for this market. If we get 100,000 sales a year, that's good for that vehicle. The soccer mom, she needs this vehicle. So if we get 100,000 sales out of that, they want total sales, but anymore they're catering to everybody's individual needs.
It's got to be inclusive.
Well, that's true.
And I'm going to say this,
Gotta be.
even though it's got overlanding in the name, and I got the Ford Bronco, I don't think the Ford Bronco in itself lends itself to overlanding very well. Not with a family, just
Right.
one person, two people maybe. But anything bigger than that, there's just not enough room to store everything. Not put your kids up on the roof and bring your dog with you.
Yeah. Well, throw
And I
your
know
dog on the roof.
this is not Bronco talk, but we keep going back to it. But Saturday was the first time that I've been in a 6th generation Bronco in a heck of a wind and rainstorm.
Mm-hmm.
I was pleasantly surprised on how well it did. I mean, it's not the most aerodynamic vehicle in the world, so you can feel the wind pushing you a little bit. But at the same time, it was the most stable vehicle. I mean, we had a lot of rain falling.
Right.
And where people were pulling over and their emergency flashers going, and we were just at one point we did a video, and everybody was moving at that point, but there was a point in time where most people were pulling over, and we were just cruising, no hydroplaning. I know we talk about the tires being rock throwers, but they are really good in the sand and in the water. So,
Ooh,
if I ever get mine back, I'll figure that out.
Dave, did you see? Speaking of the tires, did you see that picture I sent about the Goodyear Territories, the 35s that were being used on a big lot at off rodeo? Yeah,
I've seen those pictures. Yeah, before.
Chewed up those were.
Yeah, no, I've seen those pictures, but man, that terrain, you're
fair
dealing
enough.
with,
yeah,
you're dealing with rocks and stuff that are just cutting them up like razor blades, and I can tell mine have worn at 8,600 miles. I can tell that mine have worn. And my buddy Luke with Lifestyle Off Road said, "Man, I got 10,000 miles out of mine."
Dave,
yeah,
have you rotated your tires yet? Because I know this great video on YouTube that you could watch to show you how to rotate those tires and program the TPMS sensors.
I have not, but guess what? I told you to do it at the dealership.
that is a good video, and the use of emojis in that was pretty creative there, Tim.
Yeah, it was spot on.
Literally, I was just covering my ass with those emojis.
Well, you got to cover your ass sometimes.
Absolutely.
With the 4Runner though, definitely. So there's a new one coming. I think the plan is for Toyota is next year we see the Tundra or the Tacoma, and then I think 24 is when you see the next gen 4Runner. But sadly, they're going to 4 cylinders. I've reported this a couple months back that Toyota was looking to go 4 cylinders on their stuff, and that's coming. Little turbo 4s, and it makes sense that the big trucks that Toyota's doing now, their Tundras are turbo V6s, so there's no way they're putting that engine in these things. So,
right,
displacements keeps getting tinier but more horsepower somehow.
They're squeezing them.
Yeah, and Toyota doesn't have a great reputation right now with that turbo. They're having some wastegate issues in the Tundras, which I would say they're solved that fairly rapidly. But what kind of problems do they go with the Turbo 4? And it's not unusual. I think it's a 2.3 turbo they're using. I can't remember, in a RAV4 or something that I think they'll end up putting in this thing. But where do for the next generation 4Runner, where was a happy horsepower rating? Because we in America love to measure our size, our manhood size, by the size of horsepower. It seems like what would be a happy spot for a vehicle like this to be now?
There's a political answer, 180, and then I would say 200.
Really? For horsepower, it's already 270.
No, but I mean, think about this: the pyramid, right? Of course, we'd like to go up with it, but think about boosted engines, smaller displacement, turboed engines. The margin of error is less, right? We have stuff to worry about. Carbon, is it direct injection or dual injection? I don't know. This one's probably direct injection.
I would assume the next one will be.
Yeah. So you worry, you start to worry about some of the performance. I'm starting to say it's not good for marketing, but does the horsepower drop on them to increase reliability?
Well, but that works in your RAV4s and your Chevy Blazers and stuff like that. But I don't know that your off-road base vehicle, that theory works very well.
Well, fair enough. So you have the two versions, right? You have the dedicated off-road one, and maybe the horsepower is elevated higher. What is it now? To what?
270, I think is what it is in this.
I mean, maybe they try to squeeze 300. But
well,
then
you're not squeezing because it's a new engine. So
right.
but so look at the truck side because this will get the same engine that the truck's going to get. The Tacoma, as much as they sell it, the worst part of that vehicle is the engine. It's very underwhelming. People complain about no power in that thing now. I have to believe Toyota's looking at those complaints and like, hey, we can't bring a next gen out and deal with the same complaints. And you look at, so if it's the same engine as the truck, you look at right now, Nissan is the leader for Frontier at 310 horsepower. Chevy is next with like 307 with the Colorado. What the Ranger is somewhere 305, maybe something like that with a 4-cylinder. It's somewhere in that range. I feel like I haven't looked at it in a long time. I mean, 300's got to be the benchmark, right?
What's the torque rating on them?
270, 280 usually.
Because if you think about the off-roading, right, and this goes with towing as well, but in this particular case, off-roading, then the torque, and you had someone mention this in the comments, but it's something we've talked about. We've done several videos where horsepower is great and it's good for marketing, but what's the torque?
Mm-hmm.
The torque is what we're worried about. That's why I was hoping the Raptor would be like 510, but in this case here, what's the torque number? And if you, with your marketing materials, you sell the benefits of torque,
mm-hmm.
right? Everyone knows horsepower. How much horsepower? Well, what are you doing with it? And if you're off road, you're crawling, you're through the sand. Like we can talk sometimes about wheeling in the sand and looking at transmission temperatures. I told you about a Jeep that caught on fire Saturday and literally burned down to the rims because they didn't air down properly. Transmission.
Oh, okay. I was like, how did not airing down explode a vehicle?
So what happens is that it and this is why it's a law in the Outer Banks is 20 psi for a half ton is because the transmissions get too hot, right?
Sure,
and I guess the fluid ignited leaked out and caught on fire. But so my Bronco, generally I cruise on the road at 188 to 190 degrees on the transmission temperature. By the time you're done wheeling through that loose sand, we were 211, 212.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's, it's not, but you're getting up there. But I guess what I'm saying is look at the torque, right? And if you build a vehicle around the off-roading aspect, you're going to have to sell the torque and the reliability and the coolers and things like that.
Right.
I mean, so the horsepower is going to end up where it is, but the torque is, smaller turbos really help with building that torque and keeping that power band longer.
Right.
Versus it being a peak.
Right. No, I'm definitely with you on that. And I know that was a problem with some of the Nissans we've had in the past was they didn't have proper cooling for the transmission and it would throw it in the limp mode. And till that transmission cooled down, it wasn't going to do anything. So you're definitely on that. Tim, where you've owned this vehicle out of all three of us, where did you feel like it needed more horsepower?
No, but I'm not a big horsepower person. Zoomies are great, but I'm old. I don't really go past the speed limit that much.
God,
but
what fun are you, man?
I was just thinking, you said something earlier about Toyota had an aversion of 4-wheel or 4-door vehicles. Was that
well for this early on? Yes, when they brought these style out.
I wonder when Toyota realized that 4 doors equals 4 more sweet potatoes. You've heard that saying, right? 4 doors more sweet potatoes.
That's a long stretch of a joke there, buddy.
Sorry, dude, man. It was there. It was stuck.
Don't piss Timmy off, buddy, because we know where that goes.
I'll come up with some crappy jokes.
At minimum, I think 300 horsepower in this thing. I think that's what a few in the comments definitely said is 300. I would like to see them if they're going to do a TRD Pro of this that are true off-road version, do a removable top on this thing, even the back half where the rear glass is. I think people would love that. I mean, now, somebody made a comment if Ford would do a hard top version of the Bronco, it'd probably be a great, fix probably some of the issues they have with stability and stuff. But I think the cost, like to develop for Bronco it would just be a pain in the ass to do.
Oh, I think that'd be easy, and I think honestly, I think Ford should do it because that'll cater to that crowd that likes the look of the Bronco, but still wants the luxury of
And the
an
quietness of
Explorer and
Explorer.
quietness, of a non off-roading vehicle. And I do have to say the one feature I liked on the 4Runner that I have not had in any other vehicle is the ability to roll the back window down.
Yep.
And that's something that I wish I still had available.
That sold my wife on a Sequoia. We had a Sequoia at one point, and she loved that you could roll that window down. Which is it did sort of fix that problem for Toyota of like, hey, sure, you're not getting the removable roof, but we can kind of give you that same experience.
It's the next best thing, and sometimes it's easy. Like if you're just zipping somewhere, you don't have the ability to take a roof off or something. Just roll that back window down, windows down, and it's a close facsimile to having a roof off without actually having a roof off.
It's like going to a strip club that doesn't strip, Tim. Is that what we're saying?
I'm saying that if you are flying down the interstate with your windows down, your rear window down, you just need to close your eyes and dream.
Just imagine.
Close your eyes and dream.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm with you now. I'm with you now.
You're at the strip club.
Sorry, Dwayne's a real family show. I don't mean to say such things in front of Dwayne.
Look, Gavin's not here. It's your show. You do what you want to do.
Well, this is the happy hour, and that does make some people happy.
So, side note: when I was in the Navy, first time I went to Canada, they kept everybody.
Dwayne, you know how military people, they're military because there's always
they'll tell you, buddy.
The story comes out that when I was in this.
Well, yeah. So, let me tell you this one time at band camp or whatever it was.
Well,
remember them.
So the first time I did go to Canada, they kept referring to them as peeler bars. I had no idea what the hell they were talking about. I think I was like 19. Yeah. I was 19 when I went up there. Peeler bars.
And you could drink then in 19 there.
You can. Yeah, it's interesting. The strip clubs there are like, they're like going to corner pubs that just happen to have a stripper in it. It's really a weird, environment.
It's a cold country. You got to have.
They got to do something to keep
women in no clothes. I get it. It all makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, guys. There is our show tonight. I want to say thank you.
We didn't talk about Mercedes.
We didn't. We'll get to that. We need to kind of study on that one a little more because there's definitely ramifications coming for Mercedes in the United States and what they do here. But Dwayne,
Slaughter's Guide. I've got the T-shirt, buddy. I was stationed in San Diego. I've got the Tijuana T-shirt.
Dwayne, what's been going on with you? You just dropped a video about horsepower. I know you were pretty excited about that, as you should be, because you actually are purchasing one of these products.
Yeah, we're excited. I mean, like we said in the beginning, I had one thing in my head, but that's my fault because that was my own imagination. But the 418 and the 440, solid numbers. It's going to be good. Mm-hmm. There was an event put together by someone. They invited some people down to the Outer Banks, and we went Sunday, and we had a blast. It was 10 of us there, and it's like an event that they're going to try to grow it maybe 2 times a year and do it every year. And it was fun to hang out with some other Broncos and cruise down the beach.
Does your Broncos talk to the other Broncos? Do they socialize?
No, we didn't point. We didn't point them girl to girl so they could communicate. We were all sort of side by side looking out over the ocean. But
okay,
it was pretty cool. There's a few videos popping out. We did. Let's see. We had a video today.
Night in show. Sorry.
We had a video today go live. It's just us cruising down the beach, nothing kind of crazy. The next trip, though, we were going to Hatters. So we're going to get to go do a little bit different wheeling down there. It's kind of fun.
Are you going to try to cross any channels? Because that's a great video idea for you. Right.
So, no. All right. So salt water, right? We don't like salt water. So even though you go to the beach, we stay out of the water. Mm-hmm. And if my Bronco's in the salt water, it's because something went way wrong and like it hit the fan. Right.
Okay.
So no. There's some events in the western part of the state we're going to try to do freshwater stream crossings. It's actually a couple just old county roads that go through a stream.
Yeah.
And, depending on when you cross, how much rain have you just recently had? So there's some fun stuff there.
I want to take you both to Windrock is what I want to do. I think we need to have a adult only trip where it's sorry, Gavin. It just
Oh, he's all right.
where just the wives and whatever, we go explore Windrock, and I take you guys to see what your Broncos are really capable of. Because if Moab doesn't happen for me and I ever get my Bronco back, I'm definitely going over there because I'm tired of we really had hoped Moab would kind of be the first fun off-road trip.
Right.
Somebody got nasty in a comment of like, "Oh, I thought you were a really off-roader." And I was like, "Look, man, I do love off-roading more than anything, but this is a 40-hour a week job. It seems like my real job is a 45 to 50-hour a week job." And then we're, like Kelly said last night, we're softball coaches for 13U girls, and now I'm umpiring. I literally was umpiring to pay because I get paid to do that, to gather money for gas to get us to Moab. But I thought that would be a fun trip. But if that doesn't happen, I'm definitely sometime going this summer to Windrock, and I invite both of you to come down.
Yeah, I'll do it.
And I won't take you through anything ultra crazy, but I think it might be fun to because you both seem to have limited experience, and I think it might be fun.
Yeah, I'm up for it. Yeah, we could definitely do that.
Will Kelly get her Bronco before I get back before I get mine? So update. I called the dealership today, which is a effing nightmare because they were having phone system issues. And normally I can call the dealership and they pick up pretty regular, but it was very frustrating today. I was like, I kept getting hung up on. I was like, what is the effing deal here, man? And they promised me that mine was to be on the rack tomorrow so they can kind of look at it. And like most places, they're understaffed now. I don't know where all these people that decided to quit their jobs in the Great Resignation, I don't know what they're doing now, but they're not helping society at all. And so hopefully I'll know tomorrow what's going on with mine and what'll happen.
Did they tell you that yesterday?
What? I was told 3 days that it would take 3 days to get it looked at. So,
well, Dave, also on the, you mentioned somebody commented about, well, you said you're a real off-roader. Well, obviously you've got tons of content that prove that you are. But the other thing is that when you have a Bronco and it's in your, let's call it your company and your channel, right? And you're filming it. There's that one time to get that footage of it without being, filthy and beat up and scars. And so that's why I hear it on the Area 51. I mean, we took possession of the Eruption Green one, and the next day it snowed.
Right.
So we're out just wheeling it, no big deal. And then we've been on the beach 3 times. But the idea with the Area 51, the 21, was to get as much as that footage as possible and then start to get it dirty. And that's where we're at now.
Let's face it, it's a $60 vehicle. There's still a honeymoon period too, right?
$60 vehicle.
$60,000 vehicle.
Yeah, I was gonna say 60. I'll take 3.
Yeah,
and there is a honeymoon period.
There is, Tim, and you're right. I mean, I didn't drive mine off the showroom in Florida to go rock crawling. Sorry, that's not in my wheelhouse.
No, but I'll take.
Like Mark King that rolled it off the dealership floor, took it right to Windrock, and was bouncing the trails with his dealer tags on.
And you know what? And someone that wants to do that, I'm all for it. Have fun. It's just
I don't think Mark anticipated what they took him to.
Yeah. Well, he was happy either way. So
because the Bronco Celebration East, what they had planned was a shit show. And Windrock is I can go to Moab, and I was going once a year for a while. And every year I knew that my favorite trail, I knew what it was going to be like. It's stone. I'm driving on. Windrock is unpredictable because this week we're going to get a ton of rain, and I guarantee you it just changes the trails out there. So it would be different, but I can take you on just some service roads out there that are be a blast for you guys to have fun on. And even the trail too, that the Bronco Super Celebration East, I got my Gladiator stuck there last fall. And I had to be pulled out by a Bronco. So there's lots of as long as you have some patience, we can walk you through it. And maybe I put something up. I'm not going to do some other channels did and promise big trips and stuff like that. But if you guys some point want to go with us to Winrock?
Look at Johnny's comment there, Dave.
Oh,
Tim.
where are we at?
Yeah.
No. Driving through New Jersey.
So hey, Johnny, I'm willing to bet for a small fee, you can fly down to Virginia and meet up with Dave, and he'll just let you borrow his.
You mean
21?
Dwayne's got
Dwayne,
two
yeah,
of
I'm sorry, Dwayne's at 21 Area 51 Bronco.
Yeah. Like,
He'll probably just
no,
let
the
you drive it.
eruption green.
What's up, Andrea? No, like we'll definitely plan something to have some fun. I don't want to go like super big. I was doing 60 to 80 truck events there, and that was a nightmare for me. I don't want to get into that again, but I want to go have some fun. And I
Like a
really
6 to 8.
do. Me and Kelly like to take people out to kind of learn how to off-road, and we'll definitely have a blast.
That'll be fun. And what Johnny was talking about Jersey there, well, that's like the Jersey off rodeo. Like most people don't know it exists, but there you go.
Well, it's the parking lot, right?
But yeah, but we definitely look. I'm up for it. So go out there and
Nice.
teach us how to wheel Winrock.
Right. Well, we'll have a blast. So there you go, guys. I want to say thank you to Dwayne. It was kind of a last minute you coming on here, Dwayne, but I saw you drop that video and I was like, I knew you want to talk a little more about the Raptor. Tim, always with the happy hour, you make it just a little happier. You're a little happy fire back there. We do appreciate that.
Apparently the chat has spoken. The fire is in. The beach is out.
What?
That's what the chat said.
I have to do a poll on that next time.
Yep.
I'm gone in 60 says, why don't you guys come down to Texas? Well, Texas for Dwayne might be a little further than some other of us.
Well, no, when he gets his Bronco, I'll fly there and drive his Bronco wherever.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
And
I
then sign the dash after he's done.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm trying to get to the dunes this year in Michigan. So
oh wow.
That's definitely on my list because I'm hoping to do the Dream Cruise again this year. That's a blast. Dwayne, you and your boy would love that. I'm telling you, would love to be a part of that.
When is that?
August, I believe. Here, let me pull it up real quick.
Does Ford have any meetups there or anything like that? You know, you get the meeting one with Ford,
all the manufacturers kind of have their booths there.
Got
and
it.
That's where Ford launched the Eruption Green and stuff last year.
Right. I remember you did a video on that.
Yeah, I was there to cover that.
Yeah.
And let's see. Dream Cruise. They have a website, and we'll pull this website up because
I'd have to talk to you, off the stream about where you would stay, accommodation, stuff like that.
Oh yeah, there's places in Detroit you don't want to stay. That's for sure.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I will say Detroit's a pretty safe town. It gets a pretty bad reputation. But August 20th,
I believe concealed carry permits from other states are honored there.
Hey Johnny, thanks for that compliment there, both on my video and on this live stream. So.
Yeah. But this picture does not do it justice by any means. I've never seen the cruise just goes on forever. And it's on a Woodward Boulevard, and that goes through. I don't know. I bet there was 10 miles of cars driving.
I think the last time I drove on that road, I would need the Bronco just for the chuckles, the potholes.
Yeah,
to get through them.
Let's go hit about real quick. I don't know if Ford probably doesn't have anything yet. I guarantee you though, that's where so if what was it, August 18th, they said when was that when they said the order banks open up for Bronco again? Somewhere around then?
August 15th.
I would almost bet money that it's around this time. The 20th is when they actually open up. So
yeah, so August 15th. So
So I don't know, guys. That might be something fun to everybody meet up and do. You see the classic cars. Nobody does classic cars better than Detroit. It's the land of all these cars. These people that worked for all the auto manufacturing. They preserve their cars. They love their cars, and it's a blast. I was surprised when I had Dr. Detroit's first edition there. May it rest in peace, by the way, because that car got totaled.
Did it really?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that.
And I was the only one to ever activate 4-wheel drive in that thing.
Okay, I guess everyone's okay.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh.
I think his daughter broke her arm, maybe like it was a nearly head-on collision that somebody pulled out in front of them while they were going through a light or something. But it was basically totaled though because of couldn't get, in a time and manner, you couldn't get parts.
Dang.
But take the tops down on the Broncos. You drive this, you're gonna have a blast. And we saw probably 3 Broncos last August when we were there, which was, they were just getting out, so it was a lot of fun. I bet this year there's Bronco clubs everywhere. Bronco Nation last year did a big thing, so we'll plan that down the road. But definitely, guys, Kelly and I are hoping to be there. I do have an event sometime in August, a Jeep event I have to cover, but either way, I know.
And don't forget Bronco Super Celebration in Wisconsin in July.
I forgot about that one. Sorry.
I thought you were going to be there.
No, I'm not going to be there.
I was told you were going to be there.
I told you.
I think Gavin and I are going to try to go, but Tim, we might have to shack up there. If there a closet.
Whoa! This is a family show, sir.
Hey, now.
Come on now. I don't mean. Look, I'm talking about the parking lot. Okay, I sleep in the parking lot.
There you go.
But no, I haven't decided yet. It's the second week of July, I think it is.
6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Johnny, you could come down to the Dream Cruise too, man.
Oh yeah, that's like right down the street from Johnny, right?
He said 13 hours, but anything in Canada is like 13 hours, right?
It's probably 13 hours to go to the store. Right?
Johnny, if you come, can you bring me a curling stone? I want to put a curling stone in the background. I've more than anything, I love curling.
I'm speculating that Dave can't even pick up a curling stone.
It's 26 pounds. I can pick up that.
No, so Johnny needs to come back to the Outer Banks because we found the horses now, so we're good to go. And some fun stuff. And Dave and you, Tim, that would be a great trip there.
The Bronco found the horses.
You like that? So we actually got something we're trying to work into a video, the Broncos with the wild horses.
Yeah, I saw the picture that you posted.
Mustangs, cool. By the way.
Yeah.
Is that the happy horse picture?
No, not that one. That was supposed to be a bad joke. But my guilt keeps me asleep or keeps me awake at night.
Oh, with the happy Bronco?
No, that one was asking for Johnny by name, but Becky was like, "Don't tell him that."
All right, guys. So once again, thank you, Dwayne, for being on. Tim, you got any videos popping up?
I'm still trying to.
Any copyrighted material we need to look for?
I might do a whole video on copyrighted material and fair use.
Yes,
just for the education on YouTube.
Yeah,
education for the creators, right?
Yes,
absolutely.
Creators, we got to protect each other.
Yeah.
So whether it be 2-wheel drive, guys, 4-wheel drive, the drill. It does not matter what you drive. This has been your All-Terrain Nation. This has been the happy hour, and I want to say this is the best happy hour we've done yet. So thanks for everybody for being on tonight. Smash that like button for me, please. It just helps people find the channel. Smash the sub if you like what you hear here. So we're out. Peace, everybody.
See ya.